Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, we spotlight Drew Schmechel, athlete, runner, father, and husband, who suffered a stroke in 2016 and lost his speech along with many abilities that employ his right side. One of his recent goals is not only to speak, but to speak publicly. His story is entitled, I Can, Just Not Yet. Thank you for joining us for part 2, Drew Schmechel's interview. Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. This radio show, Beyond Stillness, offers an hour of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, Beyond Stillness is a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. Drew, the phrase, I can, just not yet. Tell me a little bit about the mental side of that, because we can say that, but it's really a hard journey when we've been working at something for so long and we're not seeing results. And oftentimes that's when the phrase comes about, I can, just not yet. Mentally, how do you get through that?
Well, the first thing is, again, comes back to if you're stuck someplace, find a way out, set goals, and in small amounts to lead your way out. You know, the saying that each journey starts with a single step. So does this. You got to start with the first step. And, you know, most of the time that's in the hospital or when they get there to pick you up. And, you know, you're at your low point then. And so you got to start right away, you know, after you wake up in the hospital. And it starts being for real what happened. You know, find out what you can. And we were lucky to have a great doctor, great doctors, great hospital, great neighbors, great friends that all helped me get started. And with my friends, you know, and my neighbors, I hate asking for help. I know if I did, they would be there for me. But I'm still old school. I'd rather do it myself. And I've learned a while ago that that's not possible anymore.
Yeah. Once we are able to acknowledge that, in some ways it's a gift to the other people because they're able to give of their self and you're able to offer them a perspective. Everyone is leaning in to try to do what they can, and in a way that lifts everybody up. Being able to accept the help also is important.
And that goes to my thought of a two-way street.
There it is. Maybe I learned that from you. I can, just not yet.
Well, it goes back to me always setting goals to get better. You know, I've heard some people say that at time I'm not going to get any better, and I refuse to take that as a possibility. So I keep on trying, and I keep on making small and large goals. As long as I have goals to strive towards, I will continue to get better. And so, that's the main thing I look at is how can I motivate myself? And what I've done a lot lately is talking to people about my stroke. And I've done it through this podcast and at my small group and at the church and quite a few other places. And I'm starting a list of where else I want to speak. And I've got a couple of things in mind, but I got to work on them and see if that's if it can be done. I'd like to speak to the football behind closed doors because I played football when I was in high school, and I really enjoyed that, the idea of a team sport. And I think what I went through for college age kids is something that they haven't obviously had to deal with. And if I can kind of spur them on to thinking about it, maybe it'll help them out down the road.
Yeah, I'm sure. It sounds like you've already done a lot of public speaking, which is such an important service to our world, to our community, to hear your story, because you've cultivated this courage throughout. And having the idea in your mind, I can, just not yet, is inspiration for each of us.
It's something that anybody can live by. You don't have to have a stroke to live by that.
Amen. That is true.
Yeah.
Where did you first hear the phrase, I can, just not yet?
I'm not really sure. It's something that I've had in the back of my mind for a long time and really didn't apply to anything. It probably did, but unconsciously. But when I had my stroke, it came into clear view that where I am is not by accident. Our pastor ends each speech with, where you are is not an accident, and God is with you. And so I realize that he is with me, and he knows what I can do better than I do myself. And one thing I can do is speak about strokes. And, it's most people don't have to worry about that, but a relative or a friend or your neighbor may have a stroke, and by listening to my speech, maybe they can learn more about what they can do to help that person. And that's my main goal. If I can help one person to newly with a stroke, then it's all worth it.
Absolutely. Isn't it interesting that we're all given different strengths and passions and talents and life experiences? And there's something that we can do with that in order to contribute to the whole, to be of service to the community, to each other. And you're taking your stroke and offering it as a strength in order to offer your service to other people. So that's a beautiful thing, Drew.
Well, someone had said, and I don't know who it was, that the stroke was both the best thing and the worst thing that ever happened to me. It taught me so much about me and my family, and hopefully my son and daughter can use not only what I, but also what my wife did to get our way through that, so that if something happens to them when they're old and out on their own or with their family, that they can look back to how we handled it.
Yeah.
So,
you've come a long, long way with your speech.
Been a journey.
And one of the things that you noted in your story, Drew, you told me that setting both small and big goals are important to your recovery. And I know your big goals for speech right now are speaking publicly. What are your small goals for speech when you first began?
Well, right after I had my stroke, I had a hard time even getting out a sentence. It was really hard. I couldn't swallow too well, and half my face was numb. And so my first goal was to work at getting better. It's the things you take for granted. You always have been able to speak, and then when it's taken away, my first goal was to just get better at it. And one of the ways to do that is to push yourself, and speaking in front of other people is a good way to do that.
And when you were first beginning and you couldn't quite grasp the word, do you remember the thoughts that you were having about the whole process or the emotions?
Well, what I got really good at doing, if I got stuck on a word, is I'd try to find a word similar to that I could say and get back on track. And luckily, my wife was so good at knowing me that she could figure out what word I was trying to say by which word I substituted there. And so it was good to have her alongside me because she knew me so well that we could talk that way. And that really helped out finding other words to substitute.
I love that. There are a lot of good little tricks and tools that we can use. What would you think or feel when you got the message across?
Well, it was good. Sometimes it was defeat, but sometimes it was victory. And again, having someone there that wouldn't judge you for not being able to figure out what you were was nice to have.
And you two do have a beautiful relationship. You're both beautifully strong and faithful and compassionate and selfless individuals. And then when you put those two types of individuals together, it's a sum that's greater than its parts, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful relationship.
I think so. I wouldn't be where I am today without her, that's for sure. So
I'd like to hear more about your support group also, Drew, the Peace Health Support Group. You said that you enjoy meeting with them monthly because they hold you accountable for working towards your goals.
Yeah, no, I have shared my goals with them, and I encourage them to tell me their goals because, like I said beforehand, if you don't tell anybody your goals, there's not going to be anyone to help you be accountable. And so I think it's good that you share your goals with people. And since we only meet once a month, sometimes a lot can happen in a month's time. So it's nice to hear that group. The nice part about that group is that, we're all going through this close as anything. We've all had strokes. Everyone's different, but we don't have to explain everything to that group. They all take you at where you are and where you're at that day.
That's really special. How do you keep motivated on the tough days in between your monthly meetings?
I've always been a very positive person. And so I think having goals is one way to do it. Routine is another. I've got a fairly set routine for the mornings as far as what exercises I do. And then the afternoon, a lot of it depends on, how much energy I do have. When I first had a stroke, I used to have to take 2 naps an hour and a half at a time, and that kind of cut it into a lot of the time. But I've made it down to just 1 half-hour nap now, and so it gives me a little bit more time. Again, it's all about making those connections in your brain again, and so they're slowly starting to work a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah, and it's exhausting. So taking
it is
helps your body heal a little bit before trying again and trying more.
Yeah, I tell everybody that my wife or my doctor says I need them, so it's okay.
I love it. You told me that you joined a reading group at the local hospital. Please share a little bit about your progress with reading over time.
Well, it's half of the group is from my group at the hospital also, and so there's some carryovers there. But there's people with other abilities as well, or disabilities as well, that are in the group, and so it's really good. We just we got a good book that we're reading, and we just take one chapter a week, and they're not too bad as far as length goes. I have to read it probably at least 4 times during the week for it to sink in. So luckily they're small, and each one gets a chance to read part of it, and then there's questions about it. And again, it's just really good. It's at the university, and so we go by the term.
You're very busy. You have a lot of groups that you've joined, and you're doing a lot of different public speaking engagements.
Yeah.
Drew, tell me a little bit about your reading skills when you first joined. Have they improved throughout the time that you've been with the group?
They have been. I mean, the smaller the book club, it's only been a month and a half. It hasn't been too long.
Okay.
But again, it's reading a chapter and trying to answer the questions and go back and reading it again. And so it is getting better. Again, like anything, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And so I look forward to the break and getting some new students that are going to help us out, and seeing my old friends again also.
Yeah, another way to connect with them.
Yep.
I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. I love the way that you talk about Randy. And throughout our Zooms together over the past few weeks, you've shared many quote unquote two-way street stories. Share how your relationship with Randy is a two-way street.
I hope that we both learned a lot about each other and about ourselves through this. It's been quite a few years, 7 years that I had a stroke, and so before that, there was a lot of other bridges as well, but we've always, I think, been there to help each other out. We haven't always verbalized it, and I think that's one thing I need to work on with my speech is, although I know she knows that I appreciate her, I need to tell her more often.
And when you say two-way street, will you explain in a few sentences what you mean by two-way street?
Well, any reaction you have with another person should be a two-way street, because if it doesn't benefit both parties, it's not going to be a long relationship, because the person that's not getting fed is not going to get anything out of it. But if you are interested in each other, pushing each other, complimenting each other, and things like that, it will grow deeper and it'll last longer. You never know if that person is going to be just someone you pass in the street or someone you know the rest of your life. So treasure every chance you have to get to know someone.
That's beautiful. Drew, you've told me about some of the healthcare professionals that you work with and the interactions that you have with them. It sounds like both of you are helping each other. It sounds like you listen really deeply to your healthcare professionals about their lives and what's going on in their lives, and they do so with you. And it's a relationship that both of you walk away in a way that your buckets are full and that you're ready to then give that gift to other people in the world.
Yeah.
It sounds like you developed the logo for River Bend Support Group. In fact, I've received a card from River Bend Support Group, and it has a colorful logo on the front, and it looks like it may have been a watercolor. Can you see how you developed that?
Well, the nice thing about our group at the hospital is they have guests that come in. All kinds of guests that can help with what someone with a stroke is dealing with. And this one happened to be a watercolor artist. And she came in and she asked us to draw something that made you happy. And most people drew things like flowers or kids that they wanted to see. And I drew a picture of my brain. It sounds kind of weird, but I made it both halves of my brain. One side was full of color and everything else. And the other side was almost all just blank. And that being the side that had my stroke and the side that didn't have my stroke. But I didn't draw the side that had my stroke completely blank. I left at the top a white part. And that is the fact that everybody needs to have a little bit of hope. If you run out of hope, you don't grow anymore. And so that color at the top of that side of the brain is what I hope everybody still has, even just a little bit, is some kind of hope to keep going towards. And so they decided to put that picture of mine on cards and stuff like that we used for our stroke. And I find it very gratifying. As far as artistic-wise, it's a 0.
It depends on what the purpose of art is, Drew. You said it has a lot of meaning, and I think that a lot of times the purpose of art is to point to something meaningful.
That's true. But as far as meaning, I think it has good meaning, again, not for just people that have stroke, but for all people that without hope, there's not a lot you can do.
And I love that the logo that you created for Riverbend Support Group actually ties into your theme of the story for this podcast, which is I can, just not yet. You said that you left space for hope.
Yes.
And that's beautiful art.
Yep. If you say it's beautiful, then I'll accept that.
Oh, Drew, thank you. You said that it's important to treasure every chance you have to get to know someone. And I treasure the meetings that we've shared over the past 5 weeks or so. I'm so grateful for you. Now, we take a moment to highlight Drew's term, hope. We are grateful for an opportunity to hope. May this hope fuel our minds, our hearts, and our bodies throughout the days of recovery. And may this story, your story, Drew, serve as an inspiration to each of us as we move towards the people that we're meant to be and become. Thank you for devoting time and space to listen to Part 2, Drew Schmechel's interview. For the full story, please listen to Part 1, Drew Schmechel's story, on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. In this episode of Beyond Stillness, guest Drew Schmechel offered his story entitled, I Can, Just Not Yet. He shared about the importance of setting small goals and big goals, understanding that relationships are rich when both parties benefit, and that each person has unique experiences, strengths, and talents they could use to serve a world in need of their gifts. If you enjoyed this moment of pause for storytelling and reflection, please like, share, or subscribe to the Beyond Stillness Stories After Stroke podcast. Again, thanks for listening. And remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational.
If you are part of the stroke community and have a story you'd like to share on the show, please contact us. Email molly@beyondstillness.org.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show. Again, thank you for devoting time and space for this week's episode of Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke.